All right, so I will let you introduce yourself, but this is Brenda. So in your introduction, just give a little bit of background, what you did before, because you worked in a lab before you traveled, and then why you decided to travel.
So, hi, my name is Brenda. I have been in the field since 2019. I graduated in, so about 5-ish years now.
I had to do the math.
Yeah, I graduated and I started my home hospital in Orlando. I was there for 2 years, and then after that I've been traveling since. So going on 3 years this November traveling, and I've been to over like 5 assignments already, so 5 different hospitals while traveling.
I did write that down. That was a question.
So I've been a little bit of everywhere. This assignment that I'm in right now, probably be there my year, possibly longer than a year. I just honestly went traveling because like I have nothing holding me here. I have no kids, no husband. I mean, I have family, but they're family. I come and I visit them when I want. So it's like
they're not going anywhere.
They're not going anywhere. So it's great. I want to see and be. And I know people travel for many different reasons and stuff. Like people like want more income, so they travel, but they travel locally, or they want to actually see like the states. So I want to see the states. I want to go to all 50 states. So I'm like traveling to travel.
What was the first one you took?
First 3 travel assignments were not good. Like every travel assignment you do really truly like depends on like the culture of the lab, and you see so many different cultures while traveling. Right. So
and the reason they're getting a traveler is
like,
either because they are not great or they're good. They just had, you know,
they
people
need more
retire.
People. The first ones I just did, and then like I did 1 assignment and left. And then all the other ones I've done multiple assignments.
Right.
To me, I'm a big culture person. Like I do not like assignments that are like, oh, you're just a tech, or I'm a nurse. Right. Those, I'm out there. I'm out quick. Yeah. I'm like one and done.
I'll do my assignment and then
I'm one and done. Yeah. That's the way to like quick. Or when they're like, oh, well, you're a traveler, so you're gonna get like the most burden. I'm like, don't burn out your travelers. Like we're here to help.
Right, and I think places don't realize this because you see it in the Facebook groups of people who are travelers, like advocate for places that were really good to them that they went to, but also tell you if they weren't. You know? And it's like how you treat a traveler actually is your marketing.
Yes,
because they're gonna talk about how it was. If it was great, they're going to help you find people who want to go there. They're like, yeah, it was great. Or they'll tell you, no, don't go there. They were awful to me.
I do have like lots of traveler friends who are like, oh, where have you been? Like, would you suggest it? And I'm just like, these, love it. I would absolutely go back. I'm like, these, stay away. Stay very far away. I'm traveling to make the money and to travel abroad.
Yeah. And you don't you're not working for them. You're working for your travel agency, you know?
Which actually, in reality, the way you were looking at it, because like I looked at it like, oh, I'm working for my travel agency. My travel agency is working to keep me.
That's true. So being an actor and you have an agent.
Like who's going to keep me?
Right.
And that you really truly have to look at it like they are working for you, because at first I was like so scared to walking on eggshells, and I'm like, oh, I can only stay with them. Don't be loyal. Do not be loyal. Whoever's going to pay you, if your recruiter's not nice, you don't have a nice recruiter, bye. Because I've also experienced the not so nice recruiters, and you're just like, well, now I'm scared to work with you, or I'm like walking on eggshells, and it shouldn't be like that.
To be able to communicate.
Yes, it's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be like, hey, I'm back in town. Like, what do you have for me? And all my other recruiters have been great too. So it's really whatever you truly like or are looking for. Certain assignments or certain recruiters are for certain parts. So like in Central Florida, there's like only, I think, a couple who Central Florida contracts. Right. But like the big one, like Aya, really doesn't have Central Florida.
I'm curious because I don't know. Will they tell you that? Or they'll just be like, oh, I don't have any contracts there. Not going to be like, oh, this company does, because they don't want you to go to them.
No, they don't really tell you. I mean, they just
figure it out. You
just figure it out yourself. Yeah, because like all the companies have like websites that you can go to and pretty much see what looking for specifically. So I'm a cardiovascular technologist, so if I'm looking for Cath Lab specifically, go into like their subcategories to Cath Lab, and it'll show you all the things, and then you can edit it to see like Florida, and it'll show you all their Florida contracts.
So it'll be obvious like they have nothing.
Yeah, so like
in certain areas.
So I looked at them on like the bigger sites, but they don't have them. I've only seen like the.
You're like, I know this is here.
I know
so why don't
someone
you have
has it. Yeah. So I've like come and ask different travelers, what company are you guys using? Like, oh, I know there's travelers, and I know there's need for travelers around my county. You have to ask like your travelers, like, where are you getting your assignments from?
Right. Especially if someone's goal is, I really want to go here.
Yeah.
You might not be able to go there with the agency you're with.
Yes.
Like, you might have to try other things. If that's really always wanted to go here, you know, don't don't just not go there because your agency doesn't offer it. Figure out a way, because somebody somewhere has it. It's just probably not who you're with.
There's a cookie jar. The cookie jar is the amount of they're paying for this assignment. Let's just say Davenport, Florida, just because of where I'm from. Davenport, Florida, they're paying $3,000 a week for this assignment. So, okay, great. Everybody has to get their cut out of it. You are unfortunately the last person to get the amount remaining in the cookie jar. There's such things as who has direct contracts. So if Aya has a direct contract, they're the ones that own the cookie jar.
So
but
they'll pay the most.
so they're gonna get a cut of it. But let's say that you are working through Fusion and Fusion got the contract through Aya, you're gonna get the whole 3,000. By the time it gets down to you, you're probably at 2,000. So let's say you're getting 2,000 a week from this contract, and then you have a coworker who's also a traveler, and they went through Aya, they're probably getting 2,500.
Right.
Because they don't have to give a share of it to Fusion.
That makes sense.
So whenever you find that out, it's like bad, and it's like bad taboo in the industry. First assignment, like if you're gonna renew and stuff, oh, I did it with Fusion, and you're gonna tell Fusion, oh, I don't wanna work with you anymore, I'm gonna go with Aya because they're gonna pay me more. That's taboo. Yeah, I would really suggest that maybe do another contract somewhere else, and then eventually if you wanna come back here, go with Aya when you're coming back.
Right.
It's frowned upon.
Well, because they know what you're doing.
Yes.
Too.
It's frowned upon, and it's also frowned upon to like double dip into things. Say Orlando. There's a contract in Orlando, and Fusion is offering it, and Aya is offering it too. So you have two companies offering it. You can't ask Fusion like, hey, Fusion, submit me to this Orlando one, and hey, Aya, submit me also to the Orlando. You don't want to double dip.
They'll be like, who are you with?
Yes, and then that's also when you get in trouble with companies. Companies know that you are going to be working with multiple companies. They know that. That is just a part of it. It's the business of it. They are trying, again, to keep you, but you are also supposed to be respectful to them. Like, don't double dip.
You are a CVT, RCIS.
Yes.
Correct? Background. So technically, travel tech.
Yes, I am a travel tech, RCIS. Graduated CVT school in 2019. Got my RCIS in 2020, I believe.
Questions submitted. And, you know, I'll comment on this first, and then I'll kind of turn it over to you. So how many years of experience of Cath Lab would you advise to have before traveling? So what I've seen versus what is recommended are two different things. Like I had two people from my graduating class who went traveling. Go to a CVT program, depending on the caliber of the program and the rotations you have, like you might be pretty independent when you're done.
Yes.
You know, especially if you're not traveling in tech and you're not intending to push medications and you weren't trained on that. Versus somebody with that expectation. If you're just really clear on what you can do, because there's definitely some places for assignments, which is kind of how they started, that are diagnostic only or don't do high risk PCI, and you can, most graduates, you should, that's why you're graduating, be able to do all of that independently. So have I seen it? Yes. Is it advised or recommended? No, but I'll never say never, because I've definitely seen it. So in your experience, how many years of experience would you advise?
It truly depends, one, on the person, and like two, on how you were trained. So when I was in school, we had 5 clinical rotations. So that also contributed a lot to my skill set. By the time I was on the job, I was taking call within the first 2 months.
That's the goal is oh, you went to this program, so you should be pretty independent.
Yes.
You didn't see everything. You haven't done 15 Impellas. You should be able to do
it.
heart caths and basic PCI.
So honestly, I think 2 years is a good point, especially like if you went to a CVT school and you've seen it, but a good point just to see like resume wise. On a resume, on paper, 2 years looks good. Some assignments that once you get there, the first day they want you to take call. You have to like, one, be emotionally, mentally prepared. You might not even know where like the lidocaine thing to like pop open the lidocaine is. And you have to be like okay with doing that. Assignments I've had, they're either cardiac IR or they're gonna be EP, which when they say EP, it's devices. You'll do EP and cath. So, or a lot of them have like a mix, or like EP cath and vascular. But like no like actual IR stuff. So it truly depends on like what assignment you're taking, why you're like taking these assignments, and kind of on your personality. Because a lot of these places, they're just gonna throw you in and like, yes, Cath Lab, you have to be adaptable, but there are people in Cath Lab that are just like ABC, like I'm going to stick to it, and you have to be so flexible when you're traveling. You're gonna be like, oh, well, that's how they do it here. Like you have to be okay with it. And when you're mentally ready to be like, oh, okay, like they're gonna do this, or like, didn't you tell me yesterday it was this, and now you're telling me it's this? Because like you have to remember these assignments that you're taking, like, ongoing, changing, it's not stable. They need people, so they're like, well, this is how we've been doing it because we've been so short-staffed. But now that you're here, we're gonna do it this way. If you feel like the first night that you crash course on this Cath Lab, but you're taking calls tonight, if you feel like that's okay, then you're ready to start traveling. Like, taking call is like one thing, but if you're not ready to be the only tech on call, because I have been to assignments where it's 2 nurses and 1 tech, and you're like, oh, well, that's not safe. Every assignment, every hospital does everything differently. My home hospital did 2 techs, 2 nurses, so we had a 4-man call team at all times. But I've been to assignments where it's been 2 nurses, 1 tech. Nurse monitors and 1 nurse circulates and sedates. Like, you're gonna have to be okay putting in the Impella and no one to support you. You're gonna have to be okay putting in the balloon pump, no one supporting you. Can't pull sheets, hold pressure, and be a true independent tech by yourself and like work through it all.
Nobody's gonna help you.
Yes, truly, assume no one's gonna help you. I've had it where the doc's like, yeah, pull the sheath post PCI, and I'm like, what's the blood pressure? And you just said post PCI, sir. What's the ACT? So like, if you're not gonna advocate for yourself, nurses don't know any better, because like this has been their only lab. This is not like whatever the doctor says.
That's why last week when we did this and the pressure was 200, we held pressure for like 3 hours.
Oh, I'm like, is this why you guys always use femstops? Like,
right.
Tis
you
why
know there's a solution for this
you
problem.
don't have to do this.
You don't have to struggle.
Yes, so like, if you feel that you are emotionally ready to be like, hey, like this is not safe, like let's check an ACT first. What's my blood pressure? How about we give them some medication to bring the blood pressure down? Unless you are okay to like speak up and like say that as a tech and by yourself, nobody else. 1, maybe like the other nurses don't know, maybe 2 that like may not back you, tiptoe into like the idea of taking travel assignments, because you have to speak up, you have to advocate for yourself and your patient.
I get asked this a lot from students who graduate. Their goal is to travel and they're trying to pick where to work. And I think, and you can verify me or correct me if I'm wrong, what makes you marketable? I feel like some people want to go to these large volume cath centers, right? Where you're doing a bunch of high risk PCI and Impellas every day and you're learning structural heart, and they're like, well, I need to learn structural heart and I need to do this if I want to travel. And I'm like,
no.
Are travelers doing structural heart? Like, maybe at some places if you really know it and they can use you, sure. But I do feel like IR and learning vascular and maybe devices, you know, their EP actually makes you more marketable than being able to do structural heart.
Yes. So what I've come to realize and learn is what makes you truly marketable as a traveler is the more specialties that you know.
Right.
So at my home hospital,
because the labs you're going to are usually ones that are mixed modality, and that's why they're struggling.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the one at my home hospital, we did Cath Lab, EP, which was more devices, EP studies, So
not left-sided stuff.
No left-sided, no flutters, no nothing. And I'm very open about that. I'm just like, I can set you up for an EP study and I can do any device like under the moon, but I can't STEM and I don't know what I'm looking at when I'm mapping, but I can emotionally support you from afar. That's as much as I got. I think knowing more modalities. So we did Cath Lab, EP, IR, and vascular. It has been making my assignments so easy when I'm traveling.
Because if I'm wrong, I recall this conversation. Weren't you worried because you don't know structural?
Yes.
When you first started?
Nobody lets you do structural as a traveler.
Right. That's what I was
No,
saying.
because like I've been to labs that do structural and they're like, well, we have our structural team, so thank you so much, but no.
Right.
So
I think you're probably like, I want to learn.
Yes, I am as a traveler. I'm like, teach me, please. Like, I will learn anything. Like, it's always really good to have it under your belt. No one wants to teach you. Like, no one wants. Like, just as much as it is hard in your home hospital to get into the structural program, is 20 billion times harder as a traveler. Like, if you don't know it, no one's
then
gonna
you're
teach
going to
you.
leave, right?
Yeah.
I understand from a leadership perspective, I would rather choose someone. Maybe they're so green, but full time here because they can build up to that. Versus if I spend all that time putting you in there and getting the team used to you, then you're just going to leave. So like, what was the point of that?
Yeah.
So I completely, unless they know that you're trying to get full time there, probably.
So that would probably be like maybe by your second assignment. Like if you're like, oh, I really love it here. Oh, maybe I'm thinking of moving here. Then I could believe it, yes. But other than that, no assignment that I've been to will teach me structural. They're always like, well, you have cath and oh, there's vascular cases going on today. Can you cover the structural team in those vascular cases?
Right, because then they can pull them.
They pull their structural team usually. So honestly,
it's okay that you don't know how to do structural heart. It's not the end of the world.
Whenever you're applying for these through these travel companies, they give you a checklist of things that you know. So to like give medication, do you know dosaging? Like how comfortable are you on it, like on a scale of 1 to 5? And they'll do IR, and then they ask neuro too. So
because some places
do neuro. So
are they counting? I don't remember because I filled it out once when I was dabbling in what the travel resume had to look like. Did they categorize carotids under neuro or no?
Yes.
Okay. Because see, to me, that's vascular.
No.
But
That's neuro.
Yeah. See, so I guess I know some neuro.
Vascular, peripheral,
Legs and arms.
legs, arms, fistulas. IR is more of like your neph tubes. A lot of the times they categorize neuro and IR together.
Oh, see, which is why you have to, we'll get to that in the interview portion. You have to know what people's definition of things are. Because some people I work in IR and I'm like, but do you do legs and arms? Like, do you do us? And they're like, yes. I'm like, okay. Because to me, that's vascular, but everybody's definition of things is different. Like EP. Oh, I do EP. And then you're like, oh, great. They have EP experience. Oh, they've only done devices.
Yes.
But to them, that's EP. Whereas to some Cath Labs, like that's Cath Lab because they put devices in their Cath Lab. Able to articulate what you know.
That's why, like, usually when people like interview, I'm like, I've done EP, but like when I'm talking EP, I'm talking about devices only. I'm not talking about stemming.
Right.
I'm not talking about like mapping. I don't know what we're looking at. They just look like squiggles. I'm just emotionally supporting you from here.
Someone asked what to expect when you get there. Day one, is there an onboarding period? Do you shadow somebody? Do you have a preceptor for a day or two? What does that look like?
So every assignment I've been to, you do all your onboarding stuff before you get there. Get cleared to start. They will send me my first day instructions on Friday before like the Monday I start.
Your recruiter or the hospital?
My recruiter or the hospital. It really depends on your assignment. Sometimes I get it from my recruiter, sometimes I get it from the hospital.
I guess if they have a manager.
Yeah.
If they don't have a manager, then probably
some
not.
Yeah, some assignments like they don't have a manager and I'm just like, who's supposed to like, what am I supposed to do?
Here?
I end up sending you like a cell phone from someone in the hospital that you can
nice.
contact. They're like, this is who's in charge, and you'll text them like, hi, I'm your new traveler. I start this day. Where should I report to? So usually I always like send them a text. I think that's why I really like traveling because I love, when I was like in clinicals, I love to go to new places. I thought it was so fun.
Well, that's why you like traveling in general. It's kind of the same. You're in a different country. You don't know where anything
Yes,
is.
it's always like very foreign. So like you'll always have like a point of contact. They'll send you first day instructions like, make sure to park here, get here at this time. If they do have employee parking lot, picture diagrams and like park here and they'll like circle it. And so getting there is actually not as scary as you think. I'm just always scared that I won't wake up in time and I'm like, oh I'm late. That's my first day
nightmares
scary.
about it.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my God, I'm scared. I've also had it where they didn't send me first day instructions and I'm like, hello, here, yes, I am here.
Guest services?
I'm just like, emergency department, it's very early in the morning, where do I go? I call my recruiter the day of, and then my recruiter like just show up and go talk to either HR or talk to emergency department, and then they'll kind of like tell you where to go, how to find the Cath Lab and stuff. Done it to where I just showed up in the Cath Lab. I'm like, hello, yes, I am here. I am your new traveler. What would you like to do with me? The first couple days, every hospital, unfortunately, you have to do your annual safety training stuff that you do at every hospital. Like, most hospitals are pretty organized. I've only had one hospital where I'm just like, where do I go? No, first day instructions. Finally, HR releases you. You go to the Cath Lab and you will always get a preceptor. I haven't had an assignment yet where I wasn't precepted at least a day and kind of given the rundown.
Because they could get a traveler that actually isn't who they say they are.
Yes.
You know, and doesn't know. I've seen that. So
the preceptors are really there to make sure that you can log into all the stuff that you need to, and they're there to show you where all the stuff is, answer any questions like how does our flow usually go. The least amount I've had a preceptor is one day. They're just like, just today you get a preceptor and tomorrow you're on your own. And the most I've had is like a full week of I was with the preceptor and I was like, thank you for emotionally supporting me. But
right.
Yeah, I was just like, thank you. It depends on the hospital how like they're set up, but you always get a preceptor. Right. Sometimes it does change. It's like, oh, they're off, so today you're going to be with so-and-so. And you can ask any questions. There's no dumb questions because like you don't know this lab. You don't know what, and labs vary very much.
So there is kind of, I guess, an interview process. So what questions should I ask as somebody looking to travel during a travel interview? Because I'm guessing you interview.
Are you asking about like through the company, or are you asking with the?
I think it's with the site. So what information do you have already? Let's start there.
So the information that you have is pretty much what modalities is done at the hospital, what hours are expected of me. So is it going to be 410s, 5/8s, 312s, and what are those hours? Because all the hours vary. What modalities and what do they do? So like just because they do Cath Lab, like that doesn't mean they do high risk PCI. Right. Are we charting? Am I just a circulator? Some teaching hospitals, you'll only be a circulator. You'll only pan.
Oh, that's true, because if they have attendings and fellows.
Yes, if they have the attendings and fellows, you don't do much. So I ask what is expected of me.
So would they know I mean, I guess it depends on the recruiter, but the expectation should be that the recruiter knows that information.
The recruiter knows it if their previous traveler who's been there tells them.
I don't want to take it if you're going to lose your skills. You
Yes.
know, if you're like, I don't want to just.
Those are interview questions I ask the manager.
Okay. If it hasn't been told to you.
Yes, if you have to interview with the manager, and if the manager thinks you're a good fit for that lab, and if you think you're a good fit for that lab, then we'll send an offer, and then you have to accept the offer.
Right.
So even if they send an offer and you're like, you want me to do what? I feel comfortable doing that, you can decline the offer.
Right. Oh, by the way, you're going to take call between 2 hospitals.
Yes,
'Cause that's the thing.
that's a thing too.
Yeah.
My first traveling assignments, they're like, yeah, make sure you get a house in between both hospitals. I'm like, between both? I'm applying for your hospital.
Right.
They're like, well,
Surprise.
yeah, you'll get, surprise. You'll have call between 2 hospitals. And I was like, yeah.
Decline.
Okay. It was like, you know what? Thank you so much, but no.
Yeah. Decline.
So even if they offer, do not feel obligated and be like, oh my God, they offered me. Like, no. I'm like, you know what? Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Please keep me in consideration for a future opportunity. But at this moment in time, I'm going to say no.
Yeah. You take it and then you're miserable and you let that ruin your reputation.
If you quit an assignment, like, you know what, I hate it here, you can give your 2-week notice, but a lot of hospitals extend you from that system. Big system that takes up most of the state, then you're just like, dang. So don't take assignments just because you feel
that you
pressured.
don't want.
Yeah.
Right. It's better just to then find one that's better in alignment with what you're looking for at that time and be happy and do well, and hopefully that helps you in the future. What questions did they ask you, the manager?
So they asked me what I know, what I feel comfortable with. How do you feel about rota? And I know rota, I can regurgitate it to you. I've done a couple of rotas, but I still like to, like, if the rep is there, would like to be talked through it. And more newer to it. I'm a CSI queen. I'm a rota newbie. I've been promised a lot of rota, and I never get to do rotas. I always get so upset about that. They'll ask you, like, seeing you've done EP, but it says that you've only done devices. How do you feel about, like, if we need you one day in EP to
I can be there for emotional support. But
yeah,
I'm not gonna run the
that's
case.
literally, I'm just like, I can't
Yeah.
STEM for you, but I can, like, emotionally support you and set up other stuff.
How to negotiate when getting a traveling job? Can you negotiate, and if so, who is it with?
Like, whatever you see on the website is what you're gonna get. IA, always 2 prices. There's prices without insurance and there's prices with insurance. So at the end of the day, what you should be getting is the most bang for your buck. So whenever you're talking about negotiating, you're negotiating the most bang for your buck in different ways. Let's just say that you're gonna give you $45 an hour, but your stipends are not maxed out. That is what you can negotiate.
Okay.
So, like, let's say they're gonna give you $1,000 per week for housing, and they'll give you $700 for meals. There's a website that you can go to. It's like USA.gov or something, or we'll put it somewhere else. There's a website you can go to that tells you exactly how much you're supposed to be getting per stipend, per the area,
based on cost of living, I guess.
It's based off cost of living. It's based on, like, the season, because some season places go up. And let's just say that you're getting $700 for food and you're getting $1,000 for housing, right? But if you go onto this website, it tells you that you should be getting $800 for food and $1,100 for housing, but you're getting $45 an hour for an hourly. What you're going to negotiate is, I see that you're giving me $100 less than each. How about we take off from my hourly? Because you have to steal from Peter to pay Paul.
Right.
Like, the most you're going to get from your contract is $3,000. That's the max I can give you.
It's just where
it's going to be separated. Because say I go to Hawaii and I don't have a car in Hawaii. Well, you know what? I want a car budget. I want that to be a part of my thing. Right. That's what you're negotiating. But your hourly is not going to be as high, but you're going to get money each week, like a stipend for your car.
Right. So someone did ask to explain stipends, but I know they're kind of complicated. So really what are the categories of stipends?
So there's only 2. So it's for housing and it's for food.
Okay.
So stipends is tax-free money that you get for leaving your house, and it has to be a 50-mile radius or more to travel and work at this facility. And especially because what we do in Cath Lab, like, you have to be within 30 minutes of it.
Right.
So I would have to either find a hotel and they give you food for the day.
Okay.
Stipends is tax-free money, and then you also get your hourly money. There are some assignments that you have to be over 100 miles away from, like, that facility.
I don't know. You guys in New York, I don't know how you do that. In the snow, I don't know
how they do it either. I have been
like, where do you live?
I wonder if they, like, keep them in-house. And I would not want to stay in-house.
Well, someone from New York messaged me that they have to pay for parking. Isn't that crazy?
No. That I would be so fun.
Because it's like New York, where you're gonna park, but they have a garage, but, like, you have to pay for parking as an employee. For negotiations, can you if they're desperate, negotiate the hours. Like, let's say it was listed as 5/8 and you want to work 4/10s. Is that appropriate to ask?
Yes. You ask the manager. Don't ask your
Okay.
recruiter. So when you're doing the interview on there, I'm like, I see you guys are doing 5/8. Is that because like how the lab is open?
Right.
Or if you guys are more busy, like would you consider doing me for 4/10s? Right now we're looking for somebody to do 5/8, but in this lab we do 4/10s, we do 3/12s. Like it just depends on the variety of the lab. And good question to ask in your interview. Also do ask the culture of the lab.
Yeah.
Are there very defined roles, or is everybody kind of meshed together? You can't tell who's who. I do ask. I'm like, how often do you guys get together for family dinners? And I'm just like, if you're like family, what is a family? Oh, I don't know if this is my lab.
No.
Goodbye.
Culture is important to me. I mean, it isn't to everybody, right? Some people choose assignments based on what's going to pay them the most. People choose assignments based on safety. Like if it pays the most, but it's a very unsafe area to live in, then they want to walk around. They don't want to do that. And for some people, like you and I think culture is very important. And I think that's appropriate to ask for any interview you're doing.
Yes. What's the culture of your lab?
What is the culture like? What is the relationship between the staff and the physicians? You know, because some hospitals operate very differently, where you kind of work for the physicians, and the physicians are employees of the hospital, which is very different. So I think that's important. And they're not always, some are honest because they don't want you to come and then leave. But you know, some aren't, and like it's that if they have no idea what you're talking about, that's a red flag. That's where you deep dive into the Facebook groups to see if anybody's talked about that place
Or
before.
seen, yeah.
Because they'll tell you. Do's and don'ts for traveling.
I'm like thinking of do's and don'ts or attitude. I'm thinking of shut up, don't talk about your previous lab, no one cares.
Yeah.
I have told that.
So that's a don't.
Yeah, I tell that to people, but I also see, like there are times where it's appropriate. They're like, what have you seen before? Like, what do you suggest? This is like what we're doing now. Like when they directly
trying
ask
to
you,
fix things
yes.
or want
then I'm like,
feedback.
well, this is what I've seen at other labs, and like this is what we used to do in my home hospital.
Don't be the one to bring it up.
If you do see something that's unsafe, then I'm like, why? I do question. I'm like, why do you guys do this? Like, tell me the whys, and if it makes sense for your hospital, I'm like, okay, fine. Come to realize, traveling, a lot of people have only been to that hospital, and that's all they know.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
And sometimes they came in and there was nobody to teach them.
Yes, I'm like, this is you should not be doing that. That is not safe.
Do you know anyone who has traveled with their family and little ones?
Yes. I have a couple of friends who were traveler friends who travel with their family and little ones. And I just want to say, like, we making the same money? How you do it? Because I can barely afford myself. But yeah.
Yeah, their significant other either travels also or works from home and can work anywhere.
So I have like
guess.
2 traveler friends that I know. I have one, she's a female, she's a traveler, and her significant other works remotely, and her kids are homeschooled.
Okay.
So that's what they do. And so she has 2 that are too young still for school, and one that is in school and he's homeschooled. They just travel with her and they go camping and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So they're very adventurous.
That's their lifestyle.
They decided to rent out an RV and they traveled like that. But I also have this other friend who is a traveler, and he travels, I think he has like 4 or 5 kids and his wife. His wife is a full-time stay-at-home mom. His kids go to online school as well, and they look for housing.
Oh, okay.
So they do the actual housing. So they'll get like, I don't know how they do it, if they like get bunk beds or whatever,
Right.
but they do look like 2 to 3 bedroom houses. So like there are options. I mean, there are kid friendly stuff.
You're not going to go somewhere that takes call that's like New York, like in a city in Manhattan, because that wouldn't probably provide you what you're looking for. So
yeah, people do it. I know them. I don't know how they do it, but it's possible. It's doable.
Yeah, for sure.
Either your significant other is going to have to be a full-time stay-at-home person.
I've seen people post who are travel couples, like one's a nurse, one's a tech, or they're both techs, and they look for assignments together, which is kind of cool. I don't know if they have kids though.
The one that, both of these have kids. The one that does the RV lifestyle, her husband works in the afternoon. So my friend will work, gets off at 5, and the kids are going to school at that time. And then whenever she gets home, then her husband goes to work. Yeah.
Have you personally traveled with friends? If so, how was the experience?
I love traveling with friends. I'm like, you want to be my bestie? Let's go travel with friends. I love it.
Travel with friends, as in they are also
travelers. Yeah. So pretty much every assignment I try to find like either another traveler or someone who really does want to go start traveling, and make them my best friend. They're gonna be your roommates, and you have to be like very upfront and see if your personalities mesh well. At work, I'm very happy, peppy, go lucky type stuff, but when I get home, I just
Decompress.
I decompress. I'm so
Namaste.
quiet. Yeah, like to myself. You have to be like very open about it, but I had great experiences with it.
Yeah.
I loved it. One girl, I met her in Florida, and then I convinced her to take a travel assignment with me to South Carolina, and we moved in together. So we moved in together, and then we moved in with a doctor, and it was great. So then all three of us were just all besties, just living together. You'll see each other in the morning whenever you're at work and stuff, and sometimes you don't even get to work together at work. Most of the time you don't. Yeah, like you're different labs or whatever. You save so much in rent, and then you just have someone to talk to and decompress with, like at the end of the day. I've traveled with 2 girls that I've like moved in with, so it's just nice. I mean, you talk about work, it's really just like having roommates in the same college as you, in the same major as you. Like you'll see them and like, oh hi, and then you see them when you get home. And I like that a lot. I super suggest that you save on so much money, and then you have someone get the same weekends off, and then you have someone to do stuff with on the weekends.
Understands the work environment.
It really depends on you, like as a person, like if you like to be with people like out of work or not.
When you find a region you like, you're like, okay,
I'm gonna explore
who
this
has
region
contracts
in this region. Yeah, that's
and
how,
if it's yours, great. But if not, you don't want to move. You don't want to then go to Virginia because that's all that's available with the agency that you're with. There's one's there with another one.
If you start seeing agencies and you're like, oh, they don't really have much contract, it's probably because they're not in that region.
Right.
So you have to figure out which agency is in that region.
If location is one of your kind of one of your top things.
So yeah, there's no best agency out there. It really depends. 1, if you like the recruiter. 2, if they're in that region. And 3, what you're looking for when you're traveling. Are you looking for money? Are you just looking to say you're a traveler? Are you looking for time off? Because a lot of travel contracts, some of them don't allow you to have time off. And I'll take time off in my contract, but I'll always add to the end of my contract.
Right.
Contracts is supposed to be 13 weeks. That's what they're supposed to be.
Right.
But my contract,
working 13 weeks.
yes.
Yeah. So
I make my contract 14, 15 weeks. Maybe I'll take 10 days off and I'll go abroad somewhere.
Right.
Is usually what I do.
Do you tell, because somebody asked that too, if you have vacation that doesn't align in between contracts, who are you telling that to, the recruiter or the manager in the interview?
What do you mean? Like, are you...
Like if you have days off, like let's say you took an assignment during the holidays and you had certain days you wanted off.
You tell your recruiter whenever your recruiter...
That's part of submitting you?
That's part of submitting you, yeah. Because like some places won't even call you if you have...
Correct, right.
Yeah. Right. So that's part of submitting you. So not only is it part of submitting you, your recruiter doesn't care. If you can get the days off, great for you. It's usually you talking to the manager. Okay. So you tell your recruiter like, hey, these are the days I'm gonna want off in my next contract, right? And you're like, the recruiter's like, okay, cool. I'll submit you with these days. You're gonna have to either talk it over with the manager and get the okay from them, or they'll call you back. The manager always already knows. By the time they're calling you back, they've already looked over you and they've seen it.
Yeah.
But I still like to bring it up in my interview. Hey, did you see that I requested X, Y, and Z? Are you going to be okay with it? And they're like, oh yes. Or sometimes they try to negotiate with you. Like, I see you requested this whole week. Can you maybe just do 3 days and work these other ones? And just depending on
if it's not booked, sure. But if it's booked, no.
Yes, and it just truly depends on your flexibility with it. For extensions, it works the same way. I'm going to extend, and it's going to give me another 3 months, but in those 3 months, I have this X party or whatever.
Because you were planning on not being
there. You didn't know where you were going to be. You talk to your managers, and then the manager okays it, and then your recruiter submits it, and then that's how everything just becomes okayed. So,
well, that's all I had. It was a lot, but we covered most of it.
Okay.
But if this sparks other questions, I don't know if you can reach out to her directly. I don't know if you want to do that. But you can put it in the comments and I will ask her and then answer your question. Because I haven't personally traveled, but again, you're on your sixth
assignment. Yeah.
Which this one's being extended, right?
This is my 6th assignment and I will be a whole year here. And technically, yes, you can do more than a year there. You just have to take 1 month, 4 weeks break in between. You have to
it can't be consecutive.
It can't be consecutive, yeah. So I will be a whole year here and then...
She's like, that's fine. I'll take off my holidays.
I don't know if I'll take off the whole month or I don't know if I'll come back or just look for somewhere else, but I might.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You never know.
Every assignment's a little different, but 3 years strong this November.
Some people like to do it their entire life and some people want to do it to use it to figure out where they want to be next. It just kind of depends. And life can change 2 years from now.
Yeah, I feel like I'm gonna do it till something grounds me, but nothing is grounding me right now. I am here You guys let me know if you can figure out how to get me to travel abroad and do RCIS. That is my dream. I want to do that so bad, sister. You figure it out, I'm
and
going.
they were like, oh.